Hi there, my name's David Colman, and for many years I've been helping small and medium-sized businesses to grow and thrive. 2020 has been a very tough year for most businesses, so we've decided to put together a six-part webinar series to assist small and medium-sized businesses to analyse what's happened to them over this COVID-19 period, look at where they can make revenue immediately and plan for the short term, 3 to 12 months, on how they're going to come back and get their businesses back on track and create. So we're going to do part 6 of React, Improve and Prosper. Part 1, we had an overview of what was happening in the world at this particular time, an introduction to the whole series. Part 2, we concentrated on the client and the customer and driving depth around your relationship with those people. Part 3, we looked at our cash flow, how it has been affected, how it's been supported, what sort of benefits you can get through government subsidy at the moment, and also how to spend in the next 12 months. With Part 4, we looked at our suppliers and our partners. How has the pandemic affected them? What has happened? What have you got to do to make sure that your supply chain is secure? Part 5, we looked at our staff and our technology, bringing people back to work, having a mixed hybrid work environment to home life environment. Is your technology up to speed? What can we do? And along those particular lines. And part 6, to wrap it up, we have the business space and technology that we're concentrating on. So what we're going to do here is have a look at our current space, what we've got to do to make sure that's safe for our customer and for our employees, and also to look at the technology behind that to make sure that we've got the right sort of technology and to ask the right sort of questions around that. So that's where we are today. These webinars are designed to be standalone or to roll in together. So we have a very similar introduction with each one. However, we get into the rest of the webinar very, very shortly. So if it's the first time you've seen one of these, it'll be new. And if you're with us from the beginning, skip through the next few slides. But COVID-19 has been a major disruption to all business everywhere. The way we do business has changed for a lot of businesses, whether you be relying on foot traffic and that foot traffic is no longer there, or whether you rely on your customers to come and find and be in your environment or be part of your environment. One of the main things we've seen with the lack of people heading into the major CBDs around the country is that those people who have businesses around commuter hubs are really suffering. And it's down the lines, down the supply chain, this has affected everybody along the way, because if your turnover is not the same as it once was, the people supplying you product and also have less to do in their supply chains. So very interesting. The laws and rules have changed. The way we have to present our businesses, the way we have to look at physical distancing, the way we have to make sure that our customer is and our staff are clean and safe, has created a whole vast range of new things for us to do as business owners. So also looking at COVID-19 safe plans that you need to have in place and all of that situation. So what we're going to do today is analyse, take action and plan. So when the pandemic first started, we all had to run around like headless chooks and react to what was going on. Pivot's the new word, pivot to the disruption. And so we did that, most of us did that successfully. We had to restart our business and we had to have a look at what was going on to try and create some revenue along those lines. Many of us in many industries didn't get an opportunity to do that, and so we shut down completely. However, and we'll talk about how to bring those businesses back as we go through the day. However, many of us changed up. Food was really an interesting way. Many people went to takeaway, many big restaurants went to takeaway, or even home delivery. So there was a whole range of trying to keep a relationship with your customer there. Now that we've sort of lockdown has ceased, we're breaking up and getting back into more of a normal work environment or a new normal, we're going to look at how we improve what we've got currently and take quick action to restart our businesses. What sort of revenue action can you take right now? And today we're going to focus that on where our place at work and the technology designed. Then we're going to look at how to prosper. So over these 6 subjects that we've talked about, how to prosper in the next 3 to 12 months, 3 to 12 months, and what we're going to be doing, what actions to take to build. So you've got get revenue now, and then what are we going to do again to change up as we go through the future? So small business is the lifeblood of the Australian economy. And as businesses, we need to react and improve to set up for prosperity. So what you've got to do now and what you can do now will affect your future and your ability to prosper. It's very, very challenging for many of you out there that your lifetime's worth of work was swept away in days. And your customers that you've built up for years have now changed what they're doing. They may have an opportunity to purchase their product elsewhere, or as we know, the online world has blown up and is massive. So it has created disruption. Disruption, though, creates opportunity. So you as the business owner, the entrepreneur that you are, you've got to use all the flexibility that you have in your psyche and your coordination and your persistence that enabled you to be successful in the first place, to refine where you are, define where you are today, and to actually go out and maybe reset your business and to take advantage of the disruption and the opportunity that's out there. Your customer may not be in the same position as you. They may not be running as quickly as you, and the opportunity might be there to take market share in your area or in your business area. So what we're going to do today, and we've been doing, is to break down our questions into 3 sections. The analyze section, which is where is your business today? What's happened with you through lockdown and through COVID, and where are you today? Then we're going to have a look at what items can you action right now to create some revenue, to actually take steps to just get that ball rolling. And as we looked at with our budgetary questions, a lot of us have put our rents back, a lot of us have put some mortgages or debt back. We've taken advantages from government subsidies. We've got a creation of some money now, but that money and those benefits are running out, and that little tsunami of extra debt is coming. So we need to be ready for that and to start to get some revenue happening so we can handle that little wave when it comes. And also to enhance your business. What changes do you need to make or can make to grow your business in the next 3 to 12 months? And it's really important. If you think you're coming back, turn on your lights, same business is going to occur, then you need to look again. The whole of the economy has pivoted and changed. The way people react and move has changed, and it may not be the same as when you left. So you need to have some plans, and that's what we want to do for the 3rd section, is to have a number of plans in place that you can go in and say, this is the type of economy and environment we're in. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. Do we go back into lockdown? What do I do better than we did before? That's where we can actually be proactive in something like that rather than reactive, which is where we've been through COVID in our analyze section. So that's what we're going to run through today. As mentioned earlier, we've been looking at these particular areas in our improve phase: the client, customer, the cash flow, the supply partner, the staff, technology, and technology business space. So we're wrapping those together, and that's what we've been looking at. Today in our business space and technology, where we analyze, recommence, and enhance. So what we'll do is we'll drive depth around each of those and ask a number of questions around each of those areas so that you as a business owner can add that to the rest of the series that you've got. So you've got 3 distinct areas in your planning to do: your analyze section, your recommence section, and your enhance section. So where are you at the moment with your public health requirements and your online capability? We've all come back, but where are you right now with that? What are your workplace costs versus your hybrid working methods? So we'll have some time and we'll have a look into that as well and ask some questions around what are those costs at the moment, what's happened with your, what does the future look like with your hybrid working methods? And also we're going to look at the physical real estate that you're in versus the virtual workplace. Can you blend? Can you mix? Can you change? And so we're going to ask those questions as well as we go through. So in our analyze section, and once again, this is what we're looking at: where is our business today? We're going to look at 3 topics here: health requirements, your physical versus remote working. Overall, what safety methods have you put in place in response to the pandemic that will keep your team members safe? So that will drive some depth in that. Also, how different is your workplace environment and what has legally changed? Do you have a COVID safe plan in place for both the physical office and for those at home workers? And how have you been using your real estate since the pandemic hit? Have you increased your e-commerce and online presence? And is there new technology to assist you? And what processes and practices were you using prior to COVID? And what have you found that's better? And how are you communicating with your teams and their mental health? So we're going to have a look at all that sort of situation. So here we go. As we've said the whole time with the analyze, create the plan, whatever it may be. If you've been working with us through the whole webinar series, you'll know that we're doing 3 separate plans. We're doing the analyze and the recommence and the enhance sections. So here we want you to take notes around this analyze section so you can really see across all the subjects that we've had a look at as to where your business is today. So healthy work requirements, the physical versus the remote working. Physical distancing requirements is the first thing. So once again, overall, what safety methods have you put in place in response to the pandemic that will keep your team members safe and the customer? How is your business managing your staff and the customer numbers in your premises in relation to both the state and the federal government obligations? If you're not sure, if you're getting your news or your ideas from the news or from media or from social, you need to go to the government websites, the New South Wales government websites and the federal government websites. There's whole big areas there on COVID-19 and actually get the law down as to what you've got to do within your particular premises. And we're talking very generally here because we're talking to all sorts of styles of businesses. But you need to have that understanding of what is safe for your business. Do you need to put in markings on your floors? Do you have a clear training for your staff, for your teams to understand where they are? If you are an office environment, do you need to move in your desks or every second desk only being used? If you are face-to-face, do you need screens for your people? So find out what you do need and where it is. Are your sanitation processes sufficient and in line with the COVID recommendations? At the beginning, I saw a lot of this. As we're getting a little bit more relaxed, I'm seeing less and less opportunity and less enforcing of the sanitation by shops, which is worrying because that is actually at the moment law. So be very careful around those sort of things. Keep your staff up. I know everybody's getting a bit relaxed in some areas, but as we can see, there are spikes and things will come back if we're not careful. Do your customer-facing employees need any additional PPE protection when engaging with the clients and the customer in the workspace? What is your OH&S policy for remote workers looking like at the moment? Have you got one for remote workers? Do you need to reach out to an HR professional to help you change your policy up? You may have one for your in physical office space or workspace environment, but what about the people back at home? What if somebody has an accident during work hours whilst at home? How are you covered? Are you covered? Do you have policy around this? These are the type of things that we really need to have a look at when we're looking at, and we've brought this under the physical location because it's there and there. They're here and they're at home. So it's very careful to check back into your insurance policies and see what sort of cover you do have. For those of you who have salespeople on the road, it's a very similar thing in covering them when they're in other people's environments. But for those of you, does that cover your current workspace environment? Not sure. Have a look, talk to your insurance people, talk to your HR people. How are you staying on top of the regulatory changes and jurisdictions? Do you have someone feeding you information about the changes that are occurring rapidly? There can be changes very, very quickly. We are seeing spikes here, spikes there, and changes very rapidly. So you need to, how are you keeping across that? And what is going on? What alternative solutions have you got for short and long term with your business space? Have you thought about, when we're looking into analysing where you are now and through this pandemic period, and you've got people working remotely, have you thought about how that will work? If you've been shut, have you actually think about how that would work if you were only partially open? If you were, what would happen with your people? And are there other avenues for you to work so you don't have such a concentration of people in one area? So really interesting questions to ask based on the health requirements versus physical. and remote learning. In our analyze section, also looking at how different is your workplace environment to what is legally changed. Do you understand your legal obligations as an employer or a business? And those of your visitors, your contractors, your employees, your customers, your clients, supply lines, and any volunteers that come through, depending on your business. Do you have incident reporting? Do you have, I said, your OH&S policy up to date? Have you got the right sort of risk management happening in your in your business right now? Have you looked at that, reviewed that, and seen that it needs to be done? Is your e-commerce compliant? Are your licenses up to date for the new explosion of e-commerce that has occurred? You may need to look at your licenses to have the right amount of people. We're working remotely on certain areas. Is your workplace considered to be safe? I mean, if you have government workplace inspectors come through, will you be able to talk to them and enable and show them what the changes that you've made, that the environment is safe for your people and safe for the customers and everybody else who you come in touch with? So you've got to make sure, the challenge we have is if any of your customers or clients don't feel safe in that environment, this could be a major challenge to you. So once again, you need to check on your insurances and see what is covered and what is not covered. There's a whole section of pandemics not covered. Well, what part of this comes under pandemic and what part of this comes under normal insurance? So reach back out, have a look, check some depth around that. What processes and challenges do you have for bringing people back to work? What do you really need people in your business for, and what can be done within your physical workplace, and what can be done remotely to encourage that spacing? And some of the businesses have realised that some of their employees are actually quite effective remotely, while others need closer supervision, or your business might be able to be spread, or your business might be a hands-on business and it can't be done. So you just need to have a look at that, take a moment to see as we've been coming out of the pandemic, so we can make quick changes into what we need to do into the future. How have you been using your real estate? And have you increased your e-commerce and online premise? It's a really interesting subject to have a think about this one. So where is your business right now? Is your current premises suitable? Is it necessary to your new customer? As we said in part 2, we drove depth around our customer and our client, around how they've changed their buying patterns and how they may not be buying in the same way, how they not be walking by your business, how their entire buying patterns may have changed. So is now your current premises suitable to running your business in the way that it was, or do you need to pivot what you're doing, change up what you're doing, and maybe even look at changing the way your premise is or your premises itself? Can your IT infrastructure handle the new increased online demand? If you haven't moved to online for your business, you need to. It really doesn't matter what business it is. Online has taken a massive boost over the last 4 or 5 months, and it's up to us to really grab that particular new customer. So many more people are now making their purchasing decisions online. So how does that affect you? And are you competing with your competitors to actually be a business of choice for your customer? Have great check. And part 3, we looked at looking at our part 4, actually looking at our suppliers and partners. And so one of those questions that we looked at with our suppliers and partners is, how have your suppliers and partners increased their online capability? So if one of your suppliers have had their head in the sand, they've been shut, and they actually haven't done anything, then you might come out and you won't be moving faster than they can supply. So do you need to source someone who's up to date? Do you need to source someone who can help you with that? On that, again, as I've said previously, pushing back into your supply chain, if you are part of you will be one of their customers. But if a majority of their other customers are no longer in operation or have shut down, or they might be in one of those industries that have been really badly affected, they may be under more pressure than you believe. So you need to ask and understand just how secure your supply chain is, because otherwise we get to the end of this year, your supply chain stops, you have no product to sell at your end, your business stops. So you need to be on the front foot with that. Now's a great time to look at that, because you can use their product now to create revenue. But what about the future when we get into the enhanced section of our chat today? And have you accessed support packages, rent deferral, I mentioned earlier, mortgage deferral. What have you been doing for your current business where you are now, and how is it going to affect your current your future cash flow? So something to really analyze right now. What have we done to make it easier now? And when we come back and switch on our businesses to create that revenue, but in the enhanced section, we'll look at how that's going to affect us when we get to further down the track, and when we get to start creating some revenue and all the support packages have gone away. So, have you determined the kinds of work that will remain virtual within your office, and which will require to return to the office either as a temporary basis or a permanent basis? So something like that. The business space and technology in the recommence phase. What items can you action now? So workplace costs. Check back on your budgets and cash flow. So we did that in part 3. And as we return to reopening following the lockdown, will you be able to bring your people back to work environment? So we're going to have a look at what is the cost to bringing them back, the physical cost to you, but also the physical cost to them. I'm finding, talking to some of my clients, that they've got people on shorter hours. They might be on 3 or 4 days a week rather than 5. And so they're being paid on 3 or 4 days a week and they're on lesser hours. So at the moment they've been saying, yeah, that's fine. But now we're asking them to come back to work. We haven't adjusted some of their hours. They're still on 3 or 4 days a week, but then they're looking at commuting costs. They're looking at commuting time. Rather than walking downstairs, having a cup of tea, sitting down at their desk and working, you're now asking them to commute 2 hours a day. You're asking them to pay for that commute, if that's the case, or to be in your space, and the cost that is revolved around that, whether that be transport costs, time costs, parking costs, whatever it might be. And what are you doing? Simply even, the costs of going to work. You're out buying coffee, you're out buying food, you're out buying something, which is great for all those other businesses, but the cost to the individual and your employee goes up. So how is that looking for you? And that's what we're talking about, the cost to get back to work and also the cost to your staff. What is the best for your new normal business, your hybrid working methods? Will you be able to pivot between online and offline? Some of the businesses that I've got, or physical and non-physical, some of the businesses that I work with, they're talking about bringing back part of their staff some days and part of their staff the other days, and they can work that really nicely. They can keep healthy and legal in their current environment, but they can keep rejuvenating their staff by coming in and out, and their staff are not lost. They're not there the whole time. Once again, it depends on commuting costs, because sometimes you've just got to buy weekly tickets, so that might not suit some people. So I think we're going to have to start talking to our staff as to what suits individuals. And then from a business owner, you've got to look at whether that staff member has the ability to be successful, or you need to be more involved in their business. So what it's going to help you for the new normal, and how have you supported your teams at home, so the technology around that. So there's some things, looking at recommencing. Once again, we're looking at writing in our pads and taking our notes in a separate section for recommence, so you can add all the 6 parts together. As we went first into earlier, workplace costs, check back to your budget and cash flow in part 3. Excuse me. Do you need to upgrade your safety measures at home, in the office or at home? You need to look into the costs of that, bringing people back. What changes do you need to make in your business space to recommence your business now? And how much will that cost you? Can you pivot to online and remote to keep your physical costs down? Once again, do you need to consider rotation plans, as we mentioned, shift pattern, reconfiguring workplaces, i.e. no desks facing each other to maximise safety? Remote, online and shared office space. As we just mentioned, many of my businesses are looking at having part staff on, part staff off, even though we can come back together, just to make sure that they're staying within the safety regulations. So what have you got to do that helps you right now? And also budgetary, what can you afford to do as you just come back into out of lockdown and you start your work? Have a look at the money that you're spending on people, and which people are going to help you the best, and then money in your office space as to how you're going to best utilize that office space to create revenue. Hybrid working methods, what's best for your new normal? So is your current space suitable to regain revenue? So with the new normal and the extra space that you need, your business might be too small. So you needed to change up your staff, i.e. some remote, some virtual, some physical, or you need to look at changing up your actual physical space. Now with lease agreements, some of us can't do that immediately, but this is where we might have to plan for our next section to make this happen over a period of time. And right now, getting back to revenue, you might just have to get the revenue you can with the people that you have. So that burst back into full revenue may not be available to you because you cannot get your people into the right space. And can a hybrid working enable you to save on workplace space? So once again, if your people are in, people are out, have the last 3 or 4 months brought a new way of learning for you and a new way for your business. So real opportunity here for you to take advantage of what is going on out there. Once again, how have you been supporting your teams from home? What remote working tools and challenges have you found? What hardware challenges have you discovered and had to actually put in place? Or now that you've got a new normal, do you need to assist with your staff with actually their physical hardware? It's one thing to get them to work from home, it's another to have the right tools and efficiency in transitioning to that environment. Once they are at home and those coming in, how does that look and what have you got to do around that? Excuse me. Are there any persistent challenges that your employees are facing with the existing platforms? What have they currently got with their software and their hardware that has been challenging? Maybe you've changed up your CRM, maybe you've changed up your ordering tools, and have your supply chain changed, and are they coping? And who can you rely on? So this is where really important. We go back and had a whole section 4 around supply chain, because if you're pivoting, you're changing, you're getting your business to be much more modern using technology, and your supply chain's not keeping up, maybe you need to reassess that relationship and get on board with people who can actually move quickly with you. Once again, I cannot stress the opportunity here through this disruption to gain market share in your area is huge, but you have to be on the front foot. You have to be ready to do it. So really, really important. In these areas, get expert advice. Get real estate expert advice. Get people expert advice, IT expert, business advice, and accounting advice. You don't have to do this on your own. There's people out there who are now becoming experts in this particular area. So reach out. Let me know if you need any referrals to any of those areas, or just reach out to your current people in those areas and get them to help you. So this third section is the enhanced section. We're going to look here at your physical real estate versus your virtual workspace. We're going to look at revised processes online to scale post-COVID-19. What can we do? And we're also going to plan for further disruption. And look at our online business opportunities. So what do you need to become a better business through technology and automation? Really, really good section, this one. This is where we've managed to survive through COVID. We've come back down. We've turned our business on. We're starting to get some revenue any which way we can. And this is where we take a second to plan the next 3 to 12 months, how we've actually got to take advantage of the opportunities through the disruption to gain, grow, and get better. Make your plan. Once again, something I know I'm bringing back. I really want you to make these separate plans so we can bring them all together. So your business space and technology, what changes can you make to grow into the future? Physical real estate versus virtual workspace. What have you learned from this disruption to enhance your business? What have you, through this period of time, what have you been able to do with your physical workspace to make your business more attractive to the customer, the client, and your staff? Remember, your staff are your customer as well. What have you been able to had to do to make it safe, to make sure that you get the health and safety across, but also to make it a place that people want to return to? The challenge is getting your staff back and getting your people back in to return to that particular space. Reimagine your workspace. How does your space allow for collaboration, innovation, productivity, comfort, and safety? how is your technology looking in those particular areas? So we look at the collaboration areas. What have you got? Plenty of space for that to happen. We've got productivity, what was happening before, with big work meetings may now need to remain remote, might be safer and better for everything to be done online, on Zoom, on Teams, whatever it might be, rather than come together in big groups. And then you can have small workshop groups to support those larger meetings. What technology are you using? Mentioned a few just then as to what's been helping in your particular business. Earlier we mentioned new CRMs, new ordering platforms. What has changed and what is going to be better for you to input and invest in financially in the next little while to enhance your business and make sure you're at the front end of the opportunities that come along. So we look at that also as getting better access to technology. So this is the time to pull in your IT support people, have a chat to them, get them to just get out there and have a look at what might be able to help you create a smarter, better, faster business, because that's what it's about today. Creating out there. Also, let's look at your marketing and advertising, because all of that's online as well. So bring in some marketing and advertising people who are online experts. Once again, if you don't know anyone, reach out. I've got a few people we can introduce you to, and they can give you a great plan for a social media campaign, which is where the world's on at the moment, to actually bring your business in the eyesight of your local customer. Have you revised the processes and what are you doing online to scale to COVID-19? So have you revised your processes, your IT systems, your website, your e-commerce, your risk assessment? Just mentioned this 2 minutes ago, where, with the learnings that you've had, how do you work more efficiently from your learnings from the lockdown? Everything's flipped to IT and systems and processes. So you need to engage your IT guys to make sure that you're slick, to make sure that your systems can handle the extra pressure that's there and that you don't end up crashing or your system runs out of space or whatever it might be. As we know from recent government news items, that there's a lot of illegal hacking going on. You have to be really careful, make sure that your safety is up. So if you haven't had that looked at, get your IT people to double check how safe you are for you, your client, your customer, especially if you're doing online transactions. Really important that you be able to keep that information absolutely safe. Do you have to move people around? Can you have the ability to cross-train people? Have you found superstars out there in the lockdown world that have been really beneficial to your business? Or do you think that there is more opportunity for some of your people and maybe some of them there's no opportunity at all? So do you have to have those hard conversations? Do you need to reach out to HR people to help you to do that? Or can you have those conversations looking at the people, how important they are to your business into the future? And once again, can you cross-train new staff to multitask? Now, we're doing this under physical office space because this will depend on what you've got to do, or physical workspace, because what you've got to do will depend on how many people you've got into your business. Once again, IT side and technology, do you need to revise your employee processes, induction, onboarding, access to remote hardware, and your performance criteria? Lots and lots of different questions in this particular area to plan for the future. Maybe you need less people, maybe your people can be spread around a little bit more. Once again, get advice around that, because it's really important if you're changing people's contracts or their employment agreements, that you're doing this correctly. COVID doesn't change the law. So you need to run by the law as to what's happening. And really important, third and final question is to look at planning for future disruption and your online business opportunities. So what we've learned through this crisis is that we need to be better online. You need to have better marketing online. You need to be able to sell your products online. You need to access your people online. Your customer needs to access you online. Your client needs to access you online. And your communication online has to be A1, whatever your business is. So wherever you are, you need to be able to communicate online to your to the customer, because your customer's buying has changed. They're not walking through the front door as much as they were. And you have to be able to reach out, grab them, and pull them into you. These who move fastest in this area will win. So your learnings, you need to put that through with your people and your technology and your physical workspace to make sure that you have the best opportunity to be successful. How much, and we're looking at this in the budget section in part 3, how much money do you need to invest to get back into the cyber world? You need to invest and look at that. So as we said, we survived through COVID lockdown. We've come back now and we're starting to run as best we can with what we have. Now we have to plan and pivot to change our business, to take advantage of the learnings that we've got, to take the best people in the best space that we have with the budget that we can afford to grow that. And you must include online and new tech. So how much money can you invest now to bring out in the short term, 3 to 12 months, and have those plans in place that when and if and when another lockdown occurs, how can you go back and be proactive rather than reactive as you were? When you lock down a second time, you've got to be better than you were the first time. And so we've got to take those learnings and get that investment happening straight away. Once again, look for experts, get expert people for technology, for training your people, for your support. Make sure you've got an updated COVID safe plan and everybody in your team knows about it and your business knows about it. Really, really important that how you respond to this crisis and how you plan for the next section is how your business will come out at the end of this COVID challenge. Get expert advice. I said it a few times, real estate people, IT, business, accounting, whatever it might be, reach out, get some great advice. I said, reach out to me if you need to, and I can give you some ideas who to go and see. They're fantastic people out there who are hoping to help or wanting to help you in your business, and they're well worth a conversation depending on what's happening in your world. So in summary, what we've done over the last 6 series in React, Improve, Prosper is to cover off our business, what we've been doing in this particular series. We first, when COVID came, we reacted to the lockdown. We did what we had to do. Some of us had to shut, some of us were able to morph into a smaller business, but actually keep some of our customers going. We've then, with lockdowns easing and us coming back to work in some form, we've been able to improve our lot and we've been able to get our revenue going. Then we have to look at where are we now, what have we done, what can we improve upon to prosper, and we'll be looking at our plans for the next 3 to 6 months. We've done we've looked into 6 separate areas of our business. Part 2, we looked at specifically the client and the customer, and we looked at those 3 areas of what's been happening with our client and customer. Part 3, we looked at our cash flow and the disruption that's happened to our cash flow, how we're being supported by government at the moment, but what happens when that government goes away and all of our debts have been pushed back. How are we going to manage our plans and our cash flow to get into that? And we've obviously been talking about the IT that's going to cost for that as well. So we looked at our cash flow and how that mixes in. We delved into our suppliers and partners and how important they are to you and how important they are to all the business, but have they survived? How are the health of their business? You cannot assume anymore. You need to delve into their businesses to find out how secure they are. Have they moved? Have they pivoted? Are they taking advantage of the opportunity? Are they the right people for you to partner with into the future? And if not, now is the time to start to change those relationships, to talk about those contracts and to find new people so your business is not affected if their business is affected. Part 5, we looked at staff and our technology. Really, really important. Be careful, get expert advice here, because the way people are being managed, the way people are handled, stood down, part-time hours, full-time hours, whatever it may be, coming to work, working from home, all those sorts of things. There's legal contracts around those and employment agreements, and you just can't change those at a whim. So be really careful about what you're doing. Pick out your superstars, encourage where they're going, grow your business with the people who want to work with you. And the final section we looked at was business space and technology. So the technology across the last 2, how it's changed with your communication into your staff and into your customer, and how the business space, how we're looking at how we're using our space, how much less space can we use in our business? Are we making sure it's healthy? Are we making sure we have the right health measures in place? Do we have a COVID plan for our business and our physical space? We looked at our physical space versus our virtual space and planning for that now, planning for that into the future. This might be the time also to be negotiating your current and or future leases if this certain space is not suitable to you, or there's been changes that may be the case. Each individual business and industry is different, so it's hard to go into specifics. For examples, your restaurants that could seat 100 people can now only seat 50 or 40. There's a huge change in the amount of turnover that they can do for that particular business. Or your office space, do you keep 10 desks and bring people in and out, or do you have to find a business with 20 desks to have everybody there? So we just need to work out what you need for your business, and once again, where it's at. I finish with this slide each week, and the reason is really, really important. It's how a business handles its return and improvement will define your reputation, your performance, and your future potential to prosper over the next 3, 6, 12 months, 24 months. Your customers, your staff, and your suppliers, and your competitors will be watching what you're doing. They'll be analysing you as I've asked you to analyse them. So you will look at coming back. It's really, really important that the way you come back, the way you set your business up, the teams that you bring in to partner with within your business, the customers that you service, and how they come back are absolutely important to your business. Over the last 6 webinar series, we've tried to get you to think about where you are, think about what's happened to you, think about where you are right now with your business, and plan a little bit further ahead, 2 or 3 different plans to assist you if things change within your world. So I hope you've enjoyed the webinar series. As I said, they're designed to be standalone or in a group together. React, improve, prosper. A chance for you to analyse your business as we're in the improve phase right now, and let's move into the prosper phase over the next 3, 6, 12, and 24 months. There's my details. If you feel like reaching out, having a conversation, you need some assistance, need some referrals into other experts, or want me to have a chat with you around your business, I'm happy to help. As I said, David Colman, it's been my pleasure to be with you through this series, and I look forward to catching up with you on other topics in the